Oh, you love a Smint, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Break for Smints.
Hang on, this will be all on film, got me all Smint a piece.
Smint?
Yes, please. Probably choking it now I'm talking.
Still trying to get Smint out. Smint?
So the advert.
Can't do branding.
Oh yeah, we can't, can we? No,
No, not
have to rule that out.
OverDrive episode 11, and it's been nearly a year since we did the first episode now.
It has, hasn't it? A year for me and Malcolm.
Not quite a year for me yet.
Not quite for Craig, but he will
Getting
get
there.
We'll get there.
He will see the stresses and strains in a bit.
And with this episode we've done quite a bit of travelling. So we've been to the Fleetwood Festival of Transport, also known as Tram Sunday, and today we're just finishing up at the Pateley Bridge AMG show, just outside Harrogate. So more on that later. So, but first, what should we do first? I think we should do the AMG that we've got, the CLA45. So have a look at that, and we'll move on to something else. Today I'm back at NK Prestige Motors in Crossland Moor, near Huddersfield, and we're looking at an AMG CLA45. Now, similar to the Mercedes CLA series, but of course with a bit of an AMG makeover. We have a couple of additional wind guiding fins at the front. We have usual AMG touches inside. So we've got the AMG logoing, we've even got the trim nicely patterned as well. And that all contributes to an overall feel of a special car, rather than the more lukewarm versions in the standard Mercedes range. Looking at a 375 brake horsepower engine. We have auto mode, standard automatic. We have the ability to change the car's settings. We've got suspension settings which we can adjust, and various other things as well. So there's quite a few things on this which will get the adrenaline going. But as you'd expect from the Mercedes line, especially from AMG, you do have all those extra touches. We've got leather pretty much all over the place, and the stitching, there's real attention to detail there with this. But also we've got the enhanced stereo systems as well. We have a nice big sunroof as well, which extends back towards the rear passengers. So when it's open, it's not just the front passengers who get the benefit of it. The rear do as well. And 3 seats in the back. So BMW, take note. We also have controls for the stereo, radio. We've got heated seats. We have the cruise control, we have traction control off, we have parking assist to be able to turn that off, and we also have the ability to dial as well, because we've got the numbers for the telephone. Quite a few controls on the steering wheel, though the cruise control is on a separate lever behind, just below the indicator stops. And it's actually quite clear when you're actually using it with the computer in the centre, the trip computer in the centre. You can see your range, you can see quite a few other things as well. You can swap between the different displays, and it shows you as well straight away in front of you, whether you're in park, reverse, neutral or drive. We've got quite a lot of storage and 2 USB ports as well. So we've got plenty of storage there, and we also have an adjustable, movable armrest. Although if you put this fully forward, it does cover up one of the cup holders. I know Martin's very fond of cup holders. Anyway, standard control, dual zone climate control with actual proper tactile response. We have the radio controls, and we have a big screen right there in the middle, so you can see exactly what we're doing. There's ambient lighting in here, which actually changes colour. We've got it both on the cup holders, and it's also just underneath the interior handles, which gives the whole thing a nice glow, especially when you're in the dark. But even during the day, if you're sat back, you can actually see the reflection on the first cup holder. And actually see the colour changing. The seats are brilliantly comfortable. They hold you in place. They are very comfortable actually, and quite firm, but not to the point where things are uncomfortable. Cruise control is easily accessible from the stalk, and also a couple of other trip computer functions as well can be adjusted from there. This is especially true as well of the steering wheel controls. So you can see digital speedo and your range as well on your current fuel. Gear lever is quite small. It's quite simple as well. Just literally tap forward, tap backwards. That's it. If you're wanting the controls, more controls for the floppy paddles and things like that, you actually have a manual button which shows a gear lever and an M. Now, unlike many of the BMWs, for example, the M series hotter versions of the cars, this doesn't have a sport mode really. They call it race mode, and this really does tighten up the car and give a faster throttle response from the engine. It really does set the car apart from the standard CLA. Headlamps, or the headlamp units, show that they're a Phase LED variant, and when you actually turn the engine and start it up, it really does make a nice sound. Definitely an AMG that you could really enjoy on the road or on a track. Mentioned before, the seats are quite comfortable. They're half leather, half cloth. Having said that, the cloth is a rather nice suede effect. If it's not actually suede itself, it really does feel nice to the touch. It's comfortable to sit in and holds you firmly in place. The seat belts are red, just to show that you're not in a standard Mercedes car. You are actually in an AMG, and it's something that bit more. You're shown clearly that the parking brake is actually on. It's an electronic parking brake, and there is a manual release just below the lights controls. As is my sort of harping standard, you do have an actual key. And as people who have sort of regularly seen this will know, and regularly seen the show will know, I'm not a fan of keyless cars because of the current relay box triumph going along throughout the country now. It's harder to steal a car because certainly with completely remote systems, it's possible with relay box crime to actually take the car without you being present. So people often go to bed and wake up to discover their car's been driven off. A couple of the other touches, we have lighter AMG kit plates. We have also adaptive suspension. We actually have a button there on the front as well, which you can actually use to change the settings. So quite a lot of things to actually play around with. There's quite a few extra toys in this car, which really does make that little bit extra that you pay over the standard CLA all the more worthwhile. Would I have one of these? Yes, I would. I quite enjoy the car. It has that sound to it that you really want from an AMG, and it's absolutely amazing. These alloys are standard on this version. You can actually see the AMG logo as well on the brake calipers. Everything's there to say this is something special. The brakes are obviously that bit more powerful than the standard car. And of course, you have quite a lot of the luxuries and comforts that you expect from Mercedes, with that little bit extra as well, which comes from an AMG. The only thing I would criticise is the way the display is kind of mounted as if it's a separate unit that could pop off. And it does remind me a little bit of another car that I reviewed last year, which is considerably cheaper. However, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that display was very clear, very vibrant, as is this one. And of course you've got your sunroof controls and interior lights as well. You've got some little interior lights up at the top. Really, this is a fantastic car. There's nothing major that you can turn around and say, I don't like that. There's nothing major at all. It's just personal, individual quirks. No car's perfect by any means, because if it was, everybody would have the same car. But if you're looking at one of these, you're certainly not going to be disappointed. This is a brilliant car and well worth the money.
So that was the AMG, and now on to Fleetwood, which we went to, didn't we?
We did, and we saw quite a few nice things there.
Yeah, we had some, I won't say eye openers, but we did find at least one that were a cherry on the cake as well, didn't we?
Yes.
More about that later, but we did. Nice day out.
I can't really comment on that.
You were there?
No, unfortunately Craig wasn't there.
I couldn't make Fleetwood, unfortunately.
No, you couldn't make it at the time, could you? But it was a boiling hot day as well. I got burnt.
You two had a good time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was a nice day all round. So yeah, coming up is the footage from Fleetwood.
Today we are at Fleetwood Festival of Transport.
We are. It's the second visit for me, and we're going to take a good look around. It's getting busy already, so we're going to have a look around and see what we can see.
Yep. So let's see what we find. Fleetwood Festival of Transport, or Tram Sunday as it's better known, first took place in 1985 as part of the celebrations for the centenary of Blackwall trams. It's continued to develop over the years to include many forms of transport: classic cars, motorbikes, commercial vehicles and buses. But of course, don't forget the trams. The festival starts every year with a parade through the town centre. Which also includes some of the people who are exhibiting as well.
They're a bit late, the AMGs have joined the party.
Which does give us some time for a little car spotting.
It's a 160 VC.
No, that's
I thought we did the left one.
that is a nice colour, isn't it?
And that's what I'll probably get next. I'll probably get with that.
She'll go for one, won't you? I think I'm going to. Try and find one. I know someone who's got one of them locked up in a garage.
We've got TF wheels. And the TF wheels work. The TF wheels work on the F as well as they do on the TF. But that's an original, that's the Series 1. And I have the second series. They don't have the plastic bumpers.
You mean when it sounds like a sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that would sound.
It's like,
But you know
Oh, wait till I get
oh, the GT, yeah. Yeah. A bit late to the party, but made it.
You edit that out. Right, we found some of the spots today. We found a focus harness, Marguerite in the nitrous blue.
Yeah.
I will say I love this one.
It's nice. It's actually sparkling penguin as well.
In this sunshine, you can really see.
I've never actually noticed that before when we filmed. In the scene, I've never seen that.
Oh yeah, it actually does. It's you have to stand for Caro in this one.
Yeah.
I know you can't upgrade to the bucket seats, which I had in my bag too. Now, things I'm not sure what brake horsepower is going to be on this now.
We can always ask.
We can find out now.
Have a look.
All out of this logo. I'm certain that after.
You can actually see carbon fibre effect as well. Carbon fibre cover on there. You've got the benches on there as well. Actually, I wouldn't have them mind that well.
It's different, isn't it?
It is. Now, does this have the same headlights that yours have? So you follow it?
It will be the same idea. I mean, to be fair, all I've had is the STs. The last I had was an ST3.
Yeah.
So I think we've got the same headlight really. But what I really like about this, and I'll always like it, it's an aggressive front.
Yeah.
But the only gripe is, I think it should have been also available as a green door.
Yeah, that was the same problem with the ST, wasn't it? You only did it before, don't you?
Yeah, and I always like the idea of the school where you could get the choice.
But for both of us, this was the real find of the day.
So, MG SVR X-Power.
Yeah, look at this one we just found.
Now, there's quite a history behind these cars. It wasn't originally an MG Rover car. It was actually a car they brought in. But it was effectively the supercar that everybody forgot. 400 brake horsepower, V8 Mustang engine, 32 valve in this one, and well,
How could you forget a car like that?
not many people know about it. Those that do clamour after one, but they are very, very rare. This one is the second edition, so it's getting close to the end of MG Rover's reign on the planet, and this is number 52.
It even has a building on it.
Yeah. So the chassis number starts at 100 and this is 152. So this is the 52nd car. This is number 52 off the production line.
Well, I've just heard this fire up and it sounded awesome.
Yeah.
It really sounded good, didn't it? I'd be bombing through tunnels all day long with this, watching fuel gauge go down. But I'd love every minute of it.
The thing is, it's also a bit of a mishmash of cars as well. Because Rover bought the car from the manufacturer, bought the car from the manufacturer. And then built it with their own parts added in. And there's a bit of a mishmash of things here. We've actually got Fiat headlamps.
I think they look nice though.
We do, we suit it. The rear lights are also Fiat. There are Rover 75 bits on the car, like the wing mirrors, some of the bits on the side. The handles are MGTF.
But again, don't you think a lot of these cars look like they were designed for this actual car?
Yes, it looks like it.
I think the mirrors go well with it. I think they look like they're made for this car.
And if you look at the binnacle there, where the steering wheel is, it's all nice and suede.
They got it right.
And the vents, remember the vents in the Facelift 25 we looked at? Same vents.
Same vents.
The fact that when you actually go into the car to do anything with the engine, you think the whole front's going to come off.
I thought this.
No, it's just a panel there. So you can get to the engine, you get to all the bits you need. If you need to do any extensive work, the whole front can come away.
It's a bit of a kind of strange quirks, isn't it?
It is, but isn't that typical MG Rover?
Yeah, I think it makes it more fun and interesting.
I think it's more interesting than this one, which is also a V8. But this was a Rover V8, and this particular one, RV8. This is basically the MGB body shell slightly modified. But yeah, it's.
I still think this is a car that if I owned and I loved more, I would never part with. Purely because of all its quirks.
Yeah.
And it makes it so unique, not just in its look, but in its characteristics.
Yeah.
And I think everything works with it. And I would sell a limb, maybe even two if we could get away with it, for this. I really think it's gorgeous.
The seats, you've got the racing band and seat belts on there.
I'd find him a bit of a faff. I really would find him a bit of a faff trying to belt up.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'd enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, I would. It's an absolutely amazing car. With the trip to Fleetwood, it did get us wondering, how good are these free Sat Navs you can get for your phone? Are they better than the Sat Navs built into cars? Are they better than dedicated Sat Navs? Are they any good at all? So I thought we'd have a look and find out about a few of them.
We did, didn't we? Yeah, because from my past, in my Ford Mondeo, I had a horrendous Sat Nav built in. So we just thought it'd be a nice test this, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll have a look at that.
So we're looking at Sat Navs today, and while people like to get the built-in Sat Navs on the cars, are phone Sat Navs really that bad? We're going to have a look at 4 of them today. So we've got Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, and NavMe. And we're just going to see how they actually are. Obviously, at the moment we're using Google Maps to get from Bradford to a particular site in Manchester, and then we'll be looking at some of the other maps as well as we go along. To start with, a couple of advantages of using Google Maps. When you're actually on the motorway, for example, and going onto a slip road, it does have a handy guide at the top which tells you which lane you need to be in. Now, a lot of these have them. A lot of the free Sat Navs do have this, but with Google Maps, if you were going onto a slip road, it's telling you in advance whether you need to be in the left or the right lane in time for the next instruction. So you've got that step ahead. Big advantage of Google Maps, it locks into Google's ecosystem. So you can, if it's places you go regularly, you can use your account effectively to track those particular places and tap straight to them if you want to go. It also has Google's extensive mapping technology there as well. But I've had a few issues with it, certainly recently. For example, driving along on a dual carriageway with my eventual destination to my left, it just said your destination's on the left and promptly shut off as if the journey was complete. It wasn't obvious how to get to the door, and the actual result from that was I was lost. So I ended up having to go to another actual Sat Nav to actually get to the door of the place I was going to. It happens with the Sat Navs as well, but especially with the standalone ones that you'd stick on your windscreen if you don't update the maps regularly. But it was a bit of a disappointment with Google Maps. But overall, it does get you where you need to go and gets you there quite well. To save data, if you're on a low data package for your phone, it can pre-download the actual maps for your visit. However, if you end up having to stray off course or anything like that, you will wind up using data. One of the things it did once, actually twice, the same journey, is even though it was set to avoid toll roads and toll bridges, it actually took me across a toll bridge despite being told no tolls. and that was a bit annoying, not being able to follow the instructions it's being given. The display though is quite good. You can quite clearly see your journey because it's a big blue line, and you can see quite a lot of the side roads around as well. As I mentioned, there's the box at the top where you can actually see what lane you need to be on, so you can plan your next manoeuvre, so you're not just suddenly coming off of a slip road, getting up there in the wrong lane and not realising until the very last minute. It will tell you where you need to be. So there's a lot of visual clues, and you don't need to spend a lot of time looking at it. You can just literally just glance and you know where you need to be. So in that respect, it's a really good system. So to be fair, Google Maps has got me quite close to the actual door. Certainly within walking distance, and I know exactly where I am. So, not a bad result for Google Maps. Back on the road again, this time with Apple Maps. So, again, similar sort of layout, standard sort of layout you'd expect with the Sat Nav these days. Picked up similar routes before. To be fair, it's giving us a better time than what Google Maps was for a similar sort of journey. Similar sort of thing that we had with Google Maps in terms of you can see the direction you're facing while you're driving. Except rather than the compass needle, it actually gives you the abbreviation, whether it's southwest, northwest, northeast, southeast. Now, many people are travelling southwest, you can see that because it tells me that straight on the screen with SW. Gives me a pretty good estimated time of arrival and how many miles there is left to go. And a display showing how long it is before we have to make the next manoeuvre. One thing that this doesn't have that Google Maps does is actually which lane you need to be in at the next stage. So it'll show you what lane you need to be in at that stage, but it doesn't give you the hint as to what could be further on. Now, this does get updated all the time, and things do get added to Apple Maps without Apple actually announcing anything. And yes, Apple Maps was pretty poor to start off with. However, they got their acts together, and a lot of the mapping data actually comes from TomTom. So things have improved dramatically. Of course, like Google Maps, this does rely on GPS and your data to actually download maps at certain times. For example, if you're going way off the beaten track, it will download the maps that you need for the journey. But if you're going straight off of it, going somewhere else as a detour, you may well use your data up in actual driving distance. Also, like Google Maps and all the other Sat Navs actually that we're looking at today, it will use your data to download traffic info. So if you want that information, you're constantly going to be downloading little bits of data in the background as things update. It depends on what sort of thing you're after. The great thing about downloading your maps is that they should be up to date. So you're not going to wind up with a map that's 18 months out of date. Just like with Google Maps, you've got your route highlighted in blue. It's pretty clear, makes a lot of sense, and any traffic problems are either highlighted in like an amber line or a red line if it's pretty much at a standstill. So everything's pretty clear on the display. You can see exactly what you need to see just by glancing. One thing that's missing from both this and Google Maps is your current speed, because GPS measured speed is certainly that bit more accurate than your actual speedometer. The only problem with it being it's delayed by a couple of seconds. it's a good idea to have it as a rough indicator of speed if you're in an area that you're not familiar with. You can also set it to warn you of being above the speed limit, and certain other sat navs as well, including Waze and NavMe. So just giving you that little warning bleep when you're popping above that speed limit. Waze is a pretty good satellite navigation system, especially for free. It has a set of features that pretty much are unique to it, and haven't quite migrated to Google Maps, despite Google buying Waze a few years ago. One of these things is the fact that you've got the live reporting. So if something's happening on the road ahead, you can actually warn users of that. So things like police presence, police incident, and obviously obstructions on motorways like potentially a broken down car or stationary vehicles. And that will then in turn warn other Waze users as they get close to the actual area. And it's a really good system. It does have a few weaknesses in terms of sometimes it's not aware of certain addresses in business parks, for example. So in that respect, it can lose out against Google Maps and Apple Maps as well. But on the whole, it's a really good, stable system. It's not bad for free. On mine, the actual route was highlighted, funnily enough, in purple. But you can also customise the interface and actually provide your own car design, so get something close to your car's colour, if you really want to. Its navigation is pretty good. It gets you certainly well within the vicinity of where you need to be, and also warns you of any things like roadworks ahead and things like that. So in that respect, it is an excellent companion and works quite well, but it is a little more reliant on your data than Google Maps and Apple Maps can be, because they can preload the map information before you set off. But Waze doesn't seem to do that, and if it does, I've not yet found the button to activate that. It might do that automatically in the background, but just to sort of let you know, it's not something that I've found and had highlighted as a feature of that particular sat nav. The interface is pretty clear. You end up with the speed that you're doing, but of course it doesn't update for variable speed limits, which, to be fair, none of them do. You've got to be aware of that. But one thing it does do is it will warn you of speed cameras that are coming up. So it'll tell you that there's a speed camera reported ahead. So as you're entering that variable speed limit zone, you're encouraged to keep an eye on the cameras. But it's not a bad little system. It works quite well and will give you an audible warning if you're actually going over the prescribed speed limit. And we'll also show you the speed limit next to your actual speed in red if you are speeding. But overall, great little system, not bad for free, especially with that live reporting tool. But if you're on a low data tariff where you're not actually having bags of data to download, you might be more interested in NavMe. Now, NavMe has a whole set of maps, and you can download the one for your particular country or region. That's the one you get for free. Other than that, other maps then become a chargeable option. Other things that you can actually have an add-on as well is more accurate camera scanning. So that you'll get warned of speed cameras, but if you want a better warning system, you need to have the purchase package. which is fair enough. These companies do have to make money somehow. And while Waze makes it through adverts and other such things, NavMe does have paid for optional extras. But it's still a great little system. And unless you want to use traffic updates for traffic conditions ahead, it doesn't use data at all. The only time you'll be using data is when you update your maps, which you do at home. With the maps being on the actual phone itself, of course, if you've got a low capacity phone, that could be an issue. But if you put an SD card in, you can relocate the maps to the SD card. But overall, another good system. The thing I really like on it is there's a line at the top that shows you your progress through the journey. And it will also highlight any areas where there might be traffic congestion as well. And this works pretty well. You can see at a glance how far you've got to go, how far you've travelled, and again, you've got the speed and the actual speed limit in the area on the screen in front of you as well as how many miles you've got to do and your expected arrival time, which is pretty standard on Sat Navs, to be fair. It does give you pretty clear directions on how long you're going to be travelling in that respect. Again, it's another fairly feature-packed Sat Nav, which is free. You download it onto your phone and you forget it. GPS is really quite inaccurate. You actually get more accuracy from mobile phone signal along with the GPS. The GPS getting the general location and the phone signal providing that precise point where you're actually at. It does have its limits. If you're in a mobile signal black spot, you're stuck. If you're using Google Maps, if you're using Waze and Apple Maps, you might wind up with maps not being downloaded quite when they should be. On the whole, though, for free Sat Nav systems, they are not bad at all and definitely worth considering. Quite often, you'll find these are actually more up to date than the built-in maps in various car Sat Nav systems. So it does make you wonder why people are so fixated on those built-in systems. Why not use the phone systems which are free, or even some of the paid-for ones, like the TomTom Go system, the TomTom Sat Nav systems, and a few of the others as well. There's no real reason why or why not to use any of them.
Well, that was Sat Navs. Hope you found that interesting. And moving on from there, we're now at a car show. Well, MG show, I should point out, the Paint the Bridge MG show near Harrogate. It's been an interesting day out.
It has. There's quite a lot of cars here, but there's also a couple of really special cars that we've had a look at as well.
Look out for the feature on them. Very interesting.
Yeah, we found a certain one which I remember seeing not fully done,
Partly built.
but I've just been blown away again like the same day when I saw it.
Yeah.
Now I've seen it again,
And now it's finished.
and it's an astonishing car.
I've been lucky enough to see the finished product for the first time,
Yeah,
and the amount of work that's gone into that is astonishing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's fair
A
to
lot
say.
of time, love, labour, and everything put into that, isn't there?
A custom built MG ZT Coupe with the Mustang engine, which was also used in the V8 ZTs and Rover 75s, and also a couple of other modifications as well. So this one's the 32 valve version, and we've got the normal induction system in there, and it's quite a system. This one was originally a V6 when it came in, so it wasn't modified for all the V8 mountings, and the conversion was done at Retro Sports Cars Limited by Chris all himself. So he put in the V8, he did all the mapping for it, he adjusted the suspension, modified the doors and the roof line so it was a proper coupe, and
It's a very interesting concept, isn't it?
it is, it's pretty much unique.
I've not seen anything like this before.
No.
The work, the man-hours that have gone into it is clearly
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to look at.
And the paint job's custom as well. If you look round the side, we can sort of see where the doors have been done. I mean, and also the wheel arches, so everything's specific to this car. Even the interior's been customised. But even following the roof line round, you've got the standard 75 roof, but the pillow line's completely different coming to the back. And again, the glass. Rather than the usual, I mean, we'll see another RV8 ZT as well. But unlike the others, which are all branded Mustang, this one's branded X-Power because it's one of the X-Power engines that came out of it. But it's a stunning car, absolutely stunning. I mean, what do you think of it?
Like I say, it's not something I've ever seen much about, much before. Like I said, clearly the man hours gone into it is unbelievable. It's a nice concept. Obviously, MG Rover brought us the concept car of this, didn't they? Before it all sort of went wrong for them. And it very much, I think, it reminds me of the 800 Coupe.
Yeah.
And I think that was obviously fairly successful in its day, and I think if they brought out a coupe version of the 75, same would have been. I don't see any reason why not at all.
Yeah. It's a stunning car, and a lot of time and effort's gone into this.
Now then, Craig, we've had a little bit of a wander,
We have.
and we've come across this. In my eyes, personally, I can tell straight away it's an SUV, but one thing's throwing me, the badge. So I'd like you to just sort of fill me in on this one, because I'm a bit unsure.
Yeah, this is the MG GS. I suppose you could say in a way that it's the new face of MG. Obviously, a lot of car manufacturers these days are branching out into SUVs because that's what people are buying.
Yeah.
And MG's no different. You know, if they want to slice of the action, they've got to get in on the act as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, they obviously wanted a piece of the market, didn't they?
It's, I believe, a 1.5 litre petrol. There's no diesel engine at the moment, which is something I think that possibly they need to look at.
Yes, I'd probably say so.
Because obviously
good with diesel there.
Popular, yeah. It's a practical car, it's a nice car, and it's certainly the way that people are going, I think, with them these days.
I must say it's got the same sort of striking front as the first MGs we saw, the 673.
Yeah.
It's got that sort of look going on.
It's very Mazda-ish, I think, actually.
Do you know, yes, I did wonder sort of thing of that, it's a Mazda sort of touch.
Yeah,
but
and
I think it's a nice look to it.
No, it's no bad thing. But it's just sort of an interesting concept, you know, but I think, like I say, it's the way people are going these days with them.
I really think that's off to MG for actually having a go at this as well, in such a massive market we have now.
Yeah, but obviously you've got the MG3, the Super Mini, the full city car Super Mini as well. And recently after this, they've also launched the ZS, which I believe is also like an SUV, but I believe in the market it's designed to sit just below this.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the price list, this is slightly more expensive than the newer ZS.
Yeah, I mean you can appreciate that for what it is.
I think what they've done with it is basically pack as much equipment in as possible for the price, and that's a concept that manufacturers have done for years.
Right.
You know, also this one's like it's top of the range, got full leather and all your bits and pieces.
It certainly looks a nice piece of kit.
For less than sort of around about the 20 grand markish, I think if this is the top spec one, which I think it is, you're getting a lot of car for the money.
You certainly are. I'm quite impressed with it. It's not dull, but it's not too much in your face neither. I think they've captured this well.
It is.
And as I say, in a market which is, let's say, already saturated with SUVs, it's a hard market to get into for even a big car company.
To be distinctive, yeah.
And I think they actually have chipped into it with this. I really do.
But it's the car that people want.
It seems to be the way forward, doesn't it? And why not let MG have a go at what all car companies are practically doing now?
Well, what we've got here is the MG ZT 260 SE.
Slightly modified though, isn't
Slightly modified. It's one of, I believe, 58 ZTs made in this, what they call Typhoon chromatic paint colour.
Yeah.
12, one of 12 with the V8. And well, it's pretty unique because it's the only one in the world with a Dreadnought supercharger fitted. So it's pushing now, what, 400 horsepower?
Just shot 400 horsepower now.
Which I think some people would have said probably should have been from the start, really.
Yeah, I mean this isn't the same as the V8 that was in the coupe that we saw. It is the standard 260 V8, but it does have the Dreadnought supercharger on top. And that does bring the power output right up to around about 400 brake horsepower. Mustang horse on there, and it's absolutely stunning. I do know the owner, and she's put a lot of time and effort into this and done a lot of corrections and modifications since she bought the car.
The work gone into it is pretty obvious to see, isn't it? I think it's unbelievable.
There's a lot of work gone into it in the first place. I mean, Chris, who did the coupe, also worked on this, but there's been a lot more work gone into it since. It's just continually been looked after, developed, just to get it to that point.
It is a one-off. It is a one-off in the world, isn't it? And one other thing as well, it was a monogram paint colour when it was new. The monogram programme was very much, if you think of what Land Rover do now with the Range Rover autobiography, it was pretty much design your own car. You can go into a dealership, order what you want, and
it came out the other
end. This colour when it was new, I'm not sure exactly, if I remember rightly, it was a good couple of £1,000 to have it this colour when it was new. And the monogram programme was across all the Rover and MG ranges, and you could have certain things that you wouldn't normally get as standard on the production line, you know. And that's just a bit about monogram. If you're wondering what that meant, it's basically MG Rover's personalisation programme.
It was, yeah.
Day, wasn't it? So, from the MG show, and that is the conclusion, I suppose, of episode 11. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been very interesting for all to film, hasn't it?
It has been different and been a little bit of a journey.
A lot of different content.
Yeah.
Content this time.
Yeah.
Not just, well, cars, but car related. Hope you enjoyed it, and look out for episode 12. All I'm going to say on that is, if you like cleaning your car, watch out. Got some interesting stuff.
Feel like myself.
Yeah, ideal for you.
Yeah, it'd be ideal for me, right over my street.
Right, until next time though.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Well, we've done quite a lot of travelling in this episode. So we've been to Fleetwood for the Fleetwood.
This is where it all goes.